review family, keep it tight. My name is J Morse Review Guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. Welcome back to my monthly segment, Albums I Liked, in which I go over the albums that got 8 out of 10s or higher in that specific month, albums for you to scope out. Obviously, I'm going to be giving my brief thoughts of all of them, and in the description below, I'll be posting the links to every single review in depth so you can go and watch them. I'd appreciate it a lot. Just a bit of a preface, I hope everyone is staying safe and warm through this polar vortex that's hitting us. I hope that everyone in the northern part of the United States especially is. I know that like the Chicago River just completely froze. I know that like Illinois and Michigan and Minnesota are dealing with some really life-threatening and dangerous weather, really dangerous wind speeds. I know that it is super cold. I know that I'm in West Virginia and we're getting some really cold weather and snow and stuff, so I can't imagine what it's like in like the main kind of area that it's happening in, so I hope that everyone's staying safe, and yeah. My first 9 out of 10 of the year was Legion of the Damned's album, Slaves of the Shadow Realm. I adore this album. I went back to it multiple times, and it has stayed just as good as when I first heard it. This is a nice blend of thrash metal, black metal, and death metal, and if it wasn't for 2 tracks being a little bit underwhelming compared to some of the others, we could have been looking at 2 10 out of 10s in 1 month. Nonetheless, there are some super tight performances and some great vocals on this album, and I highly suggest you check it out. I love this album. Gotta shout out Born of Osiris' album, The Simulation, the first one they're going to be dropping this year. It's not super long, but I think that what it is trying to do, it does really well. Songs like Disconnect to Me, I love that track. I added it to my overall playlist. That is such a great return to form, and this whole album really is somewhat of a return to form for Born of Osiris, and this is progressive metalcore, gen, and a little bit of deathcore mixed in. Really does remind me of some of their earlier work. It recalls some of their earlier work, such as The Discovery, and while it isn't The Discovery, because Jason Richardson isn't in the band anymore, it's about as good as you're gonna get. That's pretty much what I said in the review, is that given the kind of nostalgic feeling people have for early Born of Osiris, especially The Discovery, this is the best album you're gonna get in terms of that early style, and I really did enjoy this album a lot. I give it an 8 out of 10. Next up is Malevolent Creation with The 13th Beast. I really liked this album for what it did. It's a traditional death metal album from a band that's been around since the 80s, so they're not super brutal like what you would get from a Cannibal Corpse or one of those really brutal death metal bands that came out of kind of the late 80s, early 90s, but this really is one of my best and favorite death metal albums I've heard in a while when it comes to just straight up death metal, without super like experimental themes, without like super technicality. This album does have technical riffs, it does have some good drum work, but it's not really trying to blow your socks off like a technical death metal band like a Rings of Saturn or something. And I know someone's gonna go off saying Rings of Saturn is deathcore. They're somewhat technical death metal too. But this was a good album for doing what it did, and as a death metal album, I really did enjoy this. I gave that one an 8 out of 10 as well. Shout out to Malibu Ken's self-titled album. Tobacco and A$AP Rock come through with a very experimental hip-hop album that I really dug into a lot. One of my favorite projects that A$AP Rock has made, I guess you could say, and this is a really nice collaboration, and for a debut, it really does get me excited to see what this duo is going to be able to do going forward from an experimental point of view, because when you get these two minds together, it's impossible that there's not going to be something interesting coming out of it. Gave that one an 8 out of 10 as well. Next up, Bring Me the Horizon goes off the beaten path with Ammo, building on the kind of pop sensibilities and the electronic sensibilities of That's the Spirit, but pushing them in a sincerely new direction, completely different than anything they've released before, with some straight up pop songs, some electro pop songs, some rockish type songs, Mantra and Wonderful Life being more of kind of hard rock and new metal, getting weird experimental tracks such as Nihilist Blues with Grimes, and overall, I apologize if you feel something's a great experimental song as well. A lot of great hits on this album. I did not like some of the tracks. There was about 3 or 4 tracks that I would be apt to skip or maybe skim through if I was listening to the album, but overall this is a really good album going forward for Bring Me the Horizon, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do going forward. With this mature sound that I think they've crafted, they've become better songwriters for it, and while the instrumentation isn't super balls to the wall like some of their previous material, and it's not even metal anymore, I don't think it has to be, because the songwriting on this album is impressive. I really dug into the lyrics. That was one of the highlights, and I believe that Ollie is sounding better than ever on the lyrical and vocal front. Gave that one an 8 out of 10 as well. And then, we got Swallow the Sun, When a Shadow is Forced into the Light. 10 out of 10, my first 10 out of 10 of 2019, and my first 10 out of 10 since, I believe it was October or November, when I gave it to EOV Songs album. Was that November? I think it was November. This album's fantastic. I will say exactly what I said in the review. This is my aesthetic embodied, the album. It is amazing. It has some great progressive metal elements, death metal elements, folk metal elements. It's super death metal. It's super doomy. The riffs are chunky and fuzzed out. The vocals are amazing. They're super low. They're super Maynard James Keenan-esque, but they also have that higher register, that almost black metal inspired register, a kind of funeral doom metal. This is such a great album from top to bottom, with some longer songs doing exactly what I want longer songs to do. The lyrical front was borderline poetic most of the time, or I could just say it was poetic, and there was nothing across this entire album that I could say I did not like. Oh, I didn't like this track. No, all of these tracks have their place on this track listing, and I definitely enjoyed it, and it earned my first 10 out of 10 of the year for sure. Definitely check this album out. I do have some album reviews coming out for albums that released in January that haven't come out yet, because this video's coming out at the end of the month. I'm not sure when I'm uploading it, hopefully like the 30th or the 31st or something like that. Heck, I may even be uploading it at the 1st of February, but either way, there are some reviews of albums that I did not like and that I did like that are coming out in February, and I guess you can just watch the reviews and know that if it got an 8 out of 10 or higher, that would have been in this video if it would have came out. But overall, these are just the albums that I enjoyed the most in January. But what are yours? You can go ahead and post in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe on this video. It helps me out a lot. And smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. And I will talk to you guys next time. But until then, all of these will be in the description below. My name is J Morse, Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.